recording, we now have on the website, we now have a replay page for all of the different meetups. So you can go back and you can watch any of the meetups. We've been starting to record them, but we're also making shorts out of them and clips out of them and posting them onto YouTube. So if you don't want to be seen in video, please feel free to turn your camera off, or alternatively, down in the video section, you'll have an option to turn on an avatar. Feel free to switch your visual to an avatar like Simon has just done there, and present yourself as an avatar and leave your camera on as well. I think it's quite funky and a little bit of fun. And then nothing that we say here this evening is financial advice. So just on to the next slide, our code of conduct. So in our meeting this evening, we ask everyone to be aware of others, to be friendly and patient, to be welcoming and respectful, to be open to all questions and viewpoints, to be understanding of differences, and to be kind and considerate of others. Don't be afraid to ask any questions that you may have, because there's no question that is a stupid question. And if you have the question, chances are someone else also has it. So our next events, so next Tuesday, we have the general crypto chat at 7 p.m. with the UK group. Of course, everybody is welcome. On Tuesday, the 20th, or Monday, midnight, 1 a.m. our time, we have the Canadian meetup. And then back here in 2 weeks, I have a Web3 recruitment specialist coming on for a chat. And I'm going to interview him on different aspects of getting a job in Web3 and what the recruitment is like out there, what the job market is like out there. Might be interesting. It came up as a topic in the questions on one of Simon's meetings. I think it was your meeting, Simon, a couple of weeks back, how to get a job on Web3, and we discussed it for a while. So I've secured a Web3 recruiter, a top Web3 recruiter, to come on and have a chat with us. So I'll stop sharing now. And
just, you know, I've put all of our socials, links to LinkedIn, Telegram, and so on in the chat. I've also popped a link into the survey that we mentioned last time and in the Telegrams. So if you haven't had a chance to complete it, please do. The link's there, and we'll take a look at some of the results a little bit later as well. So I've got a breakdown that I can share later on in the meetup.
Excellent, good stuff. Thanks, Simon. I forgot about the survey, so happy days. I see Viviana popped in there. Hi, Viviana.
Hello, Hal. How are you?
Good to have you. And Michael also came in. Michael, great to have you.
Great to be here. Nice to see everyone.
Good stuff. Well, look, what I was going to go through tonight was, I had mentioned it at the last meetup that I would introduce you all to BRC20 tokens, to ordinals, to stamps, and to all these different going-ons that have been going on the Bitcoin network. But before we get to that, I think it might be interesting just to have a little chat and to inform everybody that's not aware of what's happened, the recent events that have happened that have created a bit of a market downturn, that has tilted some indicators, which I'm going to show you as well on the charts, making me believe that we may see a double bottom or maybe even lower lows. So what happened this week, Chris, in case you're not aware, the SEC have decided to sue Binance. They issued whatever they issued to sue somebody, to Binance and to CZ, for basically fraudulent behavior, for using customers' funds, for not keeping the US company separate from the global company. And they're basically bringing them to court now. It's a civil case. But and they listed then a load of tokens that they declared as securities.
Surprise, surprise.
Following day, and Marco popped in there. Is he gone again?
No, he's back. Hey, Marco.
I don't see him on my screen. Hi, Marco. He's not on my screen.
Hi. I just joined.
Oh, there he is. So. Hi, Marco. How are you? Great to see you.
Thank you very much. Finally, I got the right day, because since you have Tuesdays and Thursdays, You don't realize how many times I'm going to watch the meetup. No, it's not today.
So if you go to a Block of Crypto website now, there's a schedule. We have a schedule of meetups, and
Okay.
you can actually sign up directly from there as well now. So you
Okay,
can.
perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
for letting me know.
So that might help. So I was just saying
I find it
there.
very useful when you post it up the day that it's on the Telegram.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're trying to do that as well. Post them in the group on the day just to remind everybody, and also send out a meetups reminder as well on the day. So
Yeah, but now the group have some levels, and I lost completely the track, because before was just one, we could see that there was message there, you know.
we're getting bigger, Marco. We have to accommodate different things. It's
Do
the
your business.
global domination.
Do your business.
So I was just explaining there, Marco, what happened during the week, that the SEC have now sued Binance and CZ for different activities. So for trading securities, unregistered securities, for mixing customer funds, for not keeping the US and the international business separate. So we tanked a bit because of that. We bounced back nicely. It was a bit of a finger up to the SEC when I seen the bounce back, for the SEC to hit back then the next day with charges against Coinbase for the exact same thing, and are suing Coinbase as well for the exact same thing. And we've taken a substantial hit from that, mostly on altcoins. Altcoins are doing quite bad, Marco. There's blood on the streets. Some tokens are lower priced than they were in the December dip. Algorand, for example, being one, is hit a lower price than it's ever been. Ethereum seems to be holding up a little bit, but the Bitcoin dominance seems to be kind of taken off a little bit as well on it. Now, my take on it is that, look, we don't want fraudulent activity. We don't want fraudulent exchanges. And if there is fraudulent exchanges and Binance are doing the wrong thing, then sort them out. And that's absolutely fine. Okay, because it'll clean up the market for the next bull run. And the SEC have to do their job. Okay. And the US are miles behind Europe and other countries when it comes to crypto regulations. We now have MiCA in Europe. I know the UK are on their way to having their regulations, even though they're toying with a gambling aspect in it. But the US are behind, and they just need to catch up, and it'll happen. And this is nothing but a bit of a hiccup. And I'm going to bring up the Bitcoin chart now in a minute, because I was looking at the charts before all of this happened, and I was kind of saying it's looking very toppy, and the charts were already saying something was going to happen. And then this just kind of really accelerated it a little bit. So I will share my screen.
Have you seen the tweet of unusual whales that someone put it 100K in puts for a coin, and then one day after, SEC sued them. So, and now the guys are making millions from that put.
Is that a
yes,
meme
this was-
coin?
No, the the Coinbase ticket
Coinbase
on the
stock.
stocks markets. Yeah.
Yes, options. These were options.
Yeah, so a guy put it 100K in options. Yeah, you are right, in options.
It's options, yes.
And in the next
Right,
day,
30 minutes, I think, before the announcement
Yeah,
of the
so-
Coinbase.
I think someone have good information.
Like, there's a lot of people in the SEC. So I heard that there's 34 people working in the crypto division in the SEC. So they're throwing resources at it. They're heavily throwing resources at it. So with 34 people, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a leak.
Yeah, this one is very, very dodgy.
So it's okay for them to be dodgy, but it's not okay. But in fairness, it's not okay for the crypto industry to be dodgy either. And I'd like it cleared up.
I've stuck a tweet, and it is fake news, by the way. But I've
Yeah,
just
it's
stuck
fake
a tweet
news.
in the chat.
Okay.
What's the tweet, Simon?
I'll share it, shall I?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Hold on, I'll let you share and then we go back to that. Go on.
It is fake news, unfortunately, but
So I see
Well-
news today come out from Binance saying that Gary Gensler offered to give them crypto advice back in 2019.
he applied to be an advisor, didn't he?
Yeah.
You do
So-
kind of wonder with this how much of it is like what's fueling a vendetta.
Well, look, this is the Bitcoin chart anyway that I had been looking at before all of this news happened. Okay, now this is the weekly chart. And if I just zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here we are this week. This trend, like this indicator that I have on here is called the whole moving average. And the whole moving average tries to kind of smooth out and speed up at the same time the moving averages. Chris, are you familiar with this indicator?
Yeah.
And the other Chris as well? Okay.
I come at this.
So what do you call this? Is Chris C. What do you call your indicator?
The whole moving average, HULL.
I don't use it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, historically in Bitcoin, anytime we've dipped kind of below or touched the bottom of the green line, the market tends to go down. And for the last 2 weeks, before this week, before all this news came out, we had started to broach into this green line. And I was starting to say, right, look, if we break down here, we're on our way down. And you can see from previous attempts, as soon as we broke down and came out of the bottom, it's down all the time. Okay. And this is going back historically that it works that way. As soon as we break down out of it, now it doesn't catch tops, it catches trends and changes in trends. Okay. So it's not there to catch tops and bottoms, but it does very accurately capture the change in trend. So we can see back here in 2018, as soon as we broke down from it, we were down all the way to the bottom. But as soon as we break back up above it, there's nice green skies. And it's kind of held true the whole way through back on the Bitcoin charts. And last week and the week before, I was looking at this because we were in the zone and it was kind of, touch and go. We've now broke below the zone. Past performance doesn't always indicate future performance. However, the trend is your friend till the end, as they say. And it looks like we've had a shift in the trend and that we may be on our way back down. Now, we mightn't go down too far. Like being on the weekly chart here, 24,500, there is resistance going back from quite some time, going all the way back to, going back a year, there's resistance sitting there. So, I mean, we could touch this as support and bounce back up again, but we could also see further lows. Now, don't forget, this is the year after the major downtrend. And again, historically, the year after is a year where both the bulls and the bears tend to get wrecked. We've seen 100% increase in the market. We can easily see another 50% downturn. So I just wanted to give you my perspective on it and tell you to be careful because the indicators to me aren't looking too good. This is the Algorand chart. And we can see from the Algorand chart that the lows in December were 15.92 and we're now down at 12.91 cent, that is. So some charts have already broke below their December low and could go further. Matic is another one that's also taken quite a big hit. Matic was up at 157 and it's well down below the indicator. It dropped below the indicator back in April. It's still on the way down. The There isn't any, to be honest with you, that are looking. I've gone through quite a lot of charts. Ethereum's chart hasn't turned red. We did touch below it this week, below the whole moving average this week. So we could have Ethereum does tend to follow the rest of the market. Bitcoin goes first. Ethereum then kind of may have a little run after Bitcoin falls. The dominance might switch. In this case, it's not looking like it. It's looking like it's just holding its level. But chances are it's going to go down. The Binance stuff and the SEC stuff wasn't the only news to hit the market either during the week. So I've been watching the more financial news that's going on. And the Canadians increased their mortgage interest rates again unexpectedly. They had paused back in January and they hadn't increased since January, while the States and Europe and the UK had still been increasing. But they increased their interest rates, raising more suspicion in the US that the US are going to increase their interest rates again on, I think it's the 19th of this month. So I'm not sure if that's yet being priced into the market, but I think this is going to be, this could be a bad month. So does anybody want to jump in on anything that I've said there?
Yeah, just the recent one. I mean, today market was a bit up, and because the unemployment weekly numbers came bad, and so there was a bit of expectation that maybe Fed will pause, like a bit more probability that Fed will pause because of bad unemployment numbers. I think it's more unemployed. But these are weekly numbers, so normally you
So I've just jumped onto the hourly. I'll do the 4 hourly. Hold on. I'll do the 4 hourly. So that's the 4 hourly chart.
And it seems that Wells Fargo put a limitation on the withdrawals from the accounts. You cannot cash out more than $1,000. So
Really?
that.
And Binance also, the SEC also put in to freeze Binance US's assets and all their funds.
Yeah, but the Wells Fargo is a big player in the market.
Big bank,
a big
yeah.
bank. I don't know if it's true because I saw that in Twitter, but I didn't have time to check if it was fake news or not. I just saw the screenshot.
You know, it's always been the case that the summer months haven't been great. And I did say that last month. It can be a walk away in May situation.
It's a
You're
shopping
only
month.
at a loss.
You go to
you go to
the sales. So it's a good
say that
month.
again, Marco.
It's a good month to buy.
Might be an even better month next month if we keep dipping.
Whatever. If you are for the long term.
I've just spotted that tweet, Marco. It's on Bitcoin magazine. Let me just see if
Oh, Jess has come in. Hiya, Jess. I didn't see you come in.
Hi, everyone.
Michael, were you going to say something there?
I was only going to share some thoughts on what's happened this week, and thank you, Amanda, for showing us the charts and explaining a little bit about them. I wonder what effect the SEC action will have on Bitcoin if their attention is on projects that they allege are actually investment contracts, securities. Bitcoin doesn't have that problem. So I've been wondering whether we will see a flight of money to Bitcoin as more of for those people looking for a safe haven. For those people looking to gamble, maybe not. I'm not suggesting that gambling is the only driver to all those other projects, but that's what I've been wondering. But I think, like I said, it's all about the long term, right? You don't have Bitcoin for the short term.
Yeah, we did have it kind of so the SEC hit Binance with something there a couple of months ago. And we did have everybody kind of fly to Bitcoin then, and it did give Bitcoin a little bit of an uplift at the time. So it did. But yes, I agree Michael, with you, and that's why I was going to share some stuff on Bitcoin and ordinals and BRC20 tokens and that, because I'm personally generally bullish on Bitcoin. And there's so much going on Bitcoin at the moment, so much different building going on Bitcoin at the moment, that it could very well be a narrative for the next bull run. It's out of the loop in terms of securities and all that sort of stuff. It's not a security. It's already been deemed not a security. All the exchanges can sell Bitcoin. So everybody can access it still.
Sorry, Paula. Has that been a recent proclamation by the SEC that it's not a security? Is it now defined?
I think Bitcoin was defined. Simon, do you remember?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin was fine. I think they initially said that Ethereum wasn't either, but there's backtracking on that. But Bitcoin, I think they confirmed that's not security, it's a commodity.
So it's a commodity. It's
everything else they're going for is a security.
That's an important definition going forward. If it's written into the, by government.
Yes, and I think that's a reminder for
Michael. Really sorry, Michael. Your microphone's really muffled.
Oh, hold on 1 minute.
Yeah, I think it is really important moving forward, Chris, these sort of definitions and that coming out, because then people know what rules they have to play in. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi there. You have to remind me. Sorry, what were we saying about?
We were talking about Bitcoin being a security.
Yeah, the VASPs. Yeah, I think it's a reminder to crypto companies, especially the new starter ones, to think carefully about how they promote the crypto products that they offer, because there are grey areas clearly, and at some point we'll find a way through to whatever regulation looks like. They have laws at the moment that define securities, but obviously those laws weren't made with digital assets in mind. So we'll see. But like we said, Bitcoin there's no question about it. The only it's either a commodity or legal tender, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, and or legal. So yeah.
The MiCA regulations, Michael, have stuff about marketing and how tokens and coins are promoted. So they've regulated for that within MiCA.
MiCA's relatively new to the scene, right? And there'll be more like that to come, you'd suspect. But the USA, they got, they're tackling it from their own unique, way. But it looks like they've got quite a fight on their hands. I haven't read too much into it, but we obviously will keep an interest in it. And groups like this are fantastic for helping to share information and knowledge. So I thank you for that.
Robert just added a very valuable comment in there. It's why it's important to launch a product first and then a token alongside, rather than launching a token and then a product. And you know what? This just reminds me of the ICO period. And they were all just launching tokens, even gaming tokens. They were launching tokens to fund a project that wasn't even there yet. Like, that's definitely a security in my eyes. So it is. But that I'm not a legal or person or financial advisor. So that's my opinion.
I'm confused.
So it is.
I'm confused. I thought Simon was inferring it was a commodity, not a security.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Bitcoin is, but the ICOs were securities.
The ICOs.
A lot of vaporware as well. A lot of tokens that were launched with the promise of the product, that never appeared. And there were an absolute ton of those. Was it 2017 to 2019, wasn't it? It was rife.
Right.
Probably the biggest one known was EOS. That was huge. They raised millions and millions and millions, and then they ran off with the money.
And Tezos was another one very big at the time.
They should all be hung, drawn, and quartered.
I don't know if everyone wants to hear the definition. I've just Googled it. The major differences between buying and selling securities and commodities lies in what is being sold. Purchasing stock buys a share in a corporation's ownership and control. Purchasing commodities, on the other hand, is to buy goods themselves before they actually exist. Still confused?
What it really boils down to is expectation and profits. From my dealings with like lots of lawyers on the subject and launching multiple tokens, is like you got to launch a product and then a token. If you launch a token and then a product, then it's assumed everyone's going to buy your token because a product is coming and there's going to be that expectation for profit, right? But if you launch a product and then a token, then the token's sole use that you can argue is for utility to use the product, because the only reason the token exists is for the product. And people can speculate because that's what humans do, but you are not launching something giving people the expectation that there's a profit. So that's like the key differentiator. So that's what we've done with our project. It's like we do not launch any tokens before there's like a real life product. Otherwise, you're kind of risking that you'll be deemed as a security.
Excellent. Jess, you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, so say in theory someone wanted to make a video game. Could they release 1,000 free NFTs as playable characters, then a token, then the video game? Or would it have to be the playable characters, then maybe a demo version of the game, and then the token?
You wouldn't even want a demo version of the game. Like the gaming industry, Jess, may launch a demo for people to try and get excited about, but they're not going to charge you for it.
I think, do you mean like beta access and stuff like that to games, Jess?
I'm just thinking of my Chester Swipes game that I'm sitting on. I don't want to accidentally shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah, you'd want to be pretty careful. I'd launch the game, or you could launch the NFTs, but then you're selling the NFTs. You kind of want to launch it all at the same time. Because if you sell the NFTs in advance, well, then you're selling the NFTs to fund the game development. In which case, the people that are buying the NFTs are buying them with the hopes that there's a centralized team behind it all, and their work in progress is going to make what they've bought more valuable, which is that Howey test thing, which makes it a security.
Yeah, general advice is launch the product first and the token, or if it has to be the token first, like you got to do it within a week. So our lawyer advised, our lawyer is very strict, at within 24 hours, and we pushed that a little bit because we want to give ourselves some leeway, but to do it as close as possible to really solidify that argument that the reason the token exists is for the utility of the product that you've deployed. And technically, most of the time you have to deploy the token first before the product because the product relies on the token. But if you do it roughly at the same time, then it's still a solid argument that the reason the token exists is for utility for the product.
So I think there's so many gray areas to this token launch for your product. Because recently I worked on a project that is affiliated to VanEck, which, if you know, is a big financial institution in the States. And one of the lawyers on the team advised us on what we can and can do with respect to token sales. So what we got from the guy was, okay, you can't sell your token because it's pretty much push you afoul of security laws, but you can sell NFTs, right? So I can't really remember the exact explanation he used, but he justified the sale of NFT, and that wasn't going to break any rule in that case. So NFT was exempted from this security laws thing, whereby you can't raise funds with tokens, ERC tokens, but I think probably has to do with the uniqueness of each NFT or something like that. So I don't think NFTs are subjected to the same law as the regular tokens, the fungible tokens. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So it is. Okay, well, look, I'm going to go through, because we've only got 20 minutes left, and I really want to introduce you to BRC20 tokens and stuff like that, because I really do believe this could be some of the narrative for the next bull run. When Ethereum start releasing ERC20 tokens and ERC721 tokens and DeFi start being built on top of Ethereum, is really when Ethereum got its use case and its value, and people were actually building on it and they had a reason to use it. And up until now, there hasn't really been much happening on Bitcoin. Like, it's store value. Yeah, they use it in some countries to buy their coffees with and whatever. But apart from that, there hasn't been a whole heap going on top of it. There hasn't been DeFi, there hasn't been NFTs, there hasn't really been anything until really recently. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands. You can use the reactions there if you want. Has anybody heard of or know what BRC20 tokens, ordinals, inscriptions, stamps, any of this actually is? Robert does. Henrik does.
A little bit, but you're going to tell us all about it.
I am going to tell you all about it, Michael, and I hope I don't get confused. Chris knows a bit as well. Okay, so most of us are new, so it'll be a bit of a learning experience. I don't know how I managed to get myself caught up in all of this, but I did, and I love it. It's great crack. So you need a little bit of fun and a little bit of hype. I think what really got me involved in it is because this pisses off the Bitcoin maxis, the laser-eyed Bitcoin maxis, and I'll explain why in a couple of minutes. What I'm sharing on my screen now is Dune Analytics, and this is just for Bitcoin ordinals, okay? I just wanted to show you the sort of activity that's going on Bitcoin and why it's raising so much attention at the moment. So there's been 11 million inscriptions to date. Inscriptions only started this year. Okay, I'll explain what they are in a second. The fees paid to miners because of this has come to 1.6 or 1,678 Bitcoin. In some circumstances, Bitcoin miners have earned more in fees from mining blocks than they have from the block rewards themselves. I think the block rewards are 6.25 Bitcoin a block at the moment. And in some cases, they've actually earned more than that per block. Putting that into dollar amount, 44 million for 40, what's that? $44 million. Just looking at it then, breaking down over time, as I said, they only came live in January, and we can see that they really peaked there in May. The market's kind of been going down since then anyway. So yeah, the activity has been going down a little bit as well. We can see this chart here is showing the fees over time. These 2 days here were when the Bitcoin miners were earning more than the block rewards themselves. The types of ordinals that have been happening, we can see in color chart here. We can see most of them are text with this kind of bluish color. There's some applications, there's some audios, there's some videos, images, models, and others. So there's quite a lot of different stuff actually being minted on. This is all stuff that's been minted on the Bitcoin blockchain. Again, inscriptions by the amount broken down by the different types. That's not really that interesting. Ordinal fees paid, there is the same chart again. So it was really just the fees and the activity that I wanted to show you in this particular screen share here. A Bitcoin ordinal is basically, Bitcoins are made up of Satoshis, and there's 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. And a Satoshi is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin. And if you take a Satoshi, you can actually inscribe something onto a Satoshi. And that's a Bitcoin inscription. They started off being little bits of artwork that were being inscribed onto the blockchain. And they were Bitcoin ordinals, okay? Then it kind of moved on from there a little bit, and somebody came up with this protocol called BRC20 tokens, which instead of being able to put this tiny little bit of art onto Bitcoin, that you can actually put JSON data onto Bitcoin instead of the art. Now, Bitcoin block sizes aren't very big, okay? So the art that people were putting on it are tiny, tiny little bits of art, like tiny, minute little bits of art to actually be stored on the blockchain. Completely different to NFTs on Ethereum. NFTs on Ethereum are pointers to artwork stored elsewhere. These are actually stored on the blockchain, but they have a high cost because of the amount of bytes it takes to store in a block, and you can fill up a block pretty quickly doing this. So ordinals were working out a little bit expensive, and then somebody came up with, this guy called Domo Data came up with these BRC20 tokens. And these, as I said, is a protocol where you can use JSON data to inscribe different stuff onto the Bitcoin blockchain. So people began to create tokens using BRC20, this BRC20 standard. Now, they're not exactly like ERC20 tokens in that they don't have the functionality and they're not driven by smart contract. The value of them being not driven by smart contract is that you can't be rug pulled by the developer. Okay, I'm going to hop over to a website here called Unistat, and Unistat is a place where you can inscribe. It's a place where you can mint on the blockchain. It's a place where you can buy inscriptions, search for inscriptions, and get an inscriptions type wallet. If we go to the inscribe page, on the inscribe page, we can see the different types of inscriptions that we can do. So you can upload files. This is if you were uploading an image in ordinal. You go here and you can add in your ordinal here, and then press submit and pay invoice. Okay, put in your Bitcoin address where you want it to go, submit and pay invoice. It'll then give you back the price it's going to cost you. You can reject it if you just want to play with it. You can then reject it if it's going to cost too much or whatever. Or you can pay the invoice and it then gets minted onto the blockchain. Okay, so I'm going to go into search here for a minute. And we can see that we have, as I said, lots of different stuff. So we have text. People are putting text onto the blockchain. You can get a .stats name. So people are minting names like you have your Ethereum name server. You can have a .stats name. You can have a .unistats name. And here's all the different examples. BRC20 tokens, and there's quite a lot of these now. So these will take a couple of minutes to load up. So Ordi was the first BRC20 token that was actually issued. It's fully minted out now, 21 million of them. And I have some of them, and I'm really lucky because I have some of them. First one minted, and I have them. I tested this to see the costs of minting, just to see how it works, just to see what will happen. And I minted a BRC20 token called LRM, standing for learn. Okay. And I put it out there, told nobody about it. I just minted it and stuck it up here. And I minted 1 million of them. And 5.17% have been minted by people already. So people have taken an interest in it and they've minted them already. It costs me to mint them about $3. So the way it works is you just deploy them. Now, when you deploy them onto the blockchain. You don't actually get any for yourself as a developer, as the person that deploys them. You then actually have to go and mint them as well. Okay, so I did mint myself a couple of hundred of them as well. And it cost me about $3 as well to mint the few that I minted for myself. So it cost me about $6 in Bitcoin to deploy these and then mint a handful of them for myself. So the BRC20 tokens are extremely cost efficient. Okay. You can also mint numbers. I don't know why anybody wants to mint numbers, but people.
Sorry, Paul. Maybe I'm confused. What's the use case for that BRC20? You just minted that. What the people can do now with that dollar LR and
at the moment, people can't do very much with it except for hold it in their wallet. Okay, but if they get minted out, so if it reaches 100% minting and it actually gets minted out, they'll automatically go up for sale on the marketplace. I'm going to get to the marketplace now in a second.
Is a kind of NFTs, but on Bitcoin.
Yes, but these aren't NFTs. So the ordinals are NFTs. They're pieces of artwork. These are a protocol standard. So they're like
I'm trying to understand the use case, but I'm confused. But go on, because I'm sure you will not be clarifying my doubts. I need to investigate a little bit more.
I will. I'll try to clarify it now for you. So when ERC20 tokens were released at the start, there was no UK use case for them because it was basically an improvement proposal that got implemented onto the Ethereum blockchain. Developers then had to come along and build on top of this. So they had to build DeFi, they had to build exchanges, they had to build all the different things that go along with the tokens. That's now started to happen to go along with these BRC20 tokens. Okay, and they've also started to issue further functionalities such as BRC 721, which allows for more smart contract-like stuff. One of the stablecoin issuers in the States have issued a BRC20 stablecoin, so people can now build DeFi products, because without a stablecoin, you can't have DeFi, but there's now a BRC20 stablecoin. There is a protocol that's working on DeFi. I can't remember the name of it, but it might come up in now in a minute when I go to my next page. There is an exchange already. So because it's so early, everything still needs to be built around this, Marco. And the use cases will be the same as Ethereum, but it hasn't been developed out yet. So this is early stuff. This is really early stuff. This is like Ethereum when Ethereum started with their smart contracts and everything else like that.
I like it.
Go ahead, Chris.
I like the idea that Bitcoin development is starting to gain a lot of traction right now, but I don't know if I'm a fan of the approach that they're taking, because to me, it sounds like they are just plugging the Bitcoin network with so much, I don't want to say junk, but so much data. And there's a hard cap, at least for now, there's a hard cap to how much data that can be inserted into this network. So overall, do I think it's a good idea? I'm leaning towards the no. But I like the fact that it's pushing Bitcoin to innovate.
And that's the argument from the
what
Bitcoin maxis as well, is that it's wasting block space and that Bitcoin isn't meant for this. Bitcoin is meant for peer-to-peer transactions. It's not meant for all this junk. This is just spam on the network. And unfortunately, with BRC20 tokens, with the way they're actually stored at the moment, they're stored in, I can't remember the name. Yeah, they're on Satoshis, but they can actually be pruned out by the miners. And the miners can come along and decide in their little node, they're going to prune all these out and they're not going to show them. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not there, but some miners may choose to prune them out. And there had been talk of them forking Bitcoin because of this, because the maxis hated it. It's, you know, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, for a fork to happen, the miners have to implement the new software. And the miners are saying, well, hold on for a minute. This is where I'm making my money now. I'm making more money from this than I am from block rewards. So you tell me what way it's going to go.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's
it's that way until a time comes where there are only a few people running these nodes because it's so expensive to run. Because the further this goes on, the more capital intensive it becomes to run a node. And we might get to a future whereby only institutions get to run Bitcoin nodes. And then Bitcoin loses so big stage of we are the most decentralized blockchain
and there's also the argument, as the halvings keep happening, that it may not, if the price of Bitcoin, you know, the halving, we see diminishing returns at each halving in terms of the value of Bitcoin. Because it just has less of an impact. The halving has less of an impact in the price. So we need something else for the miners to have incentive. And this could be it.
That's why. Yeah, that's why my first comment was like, I love the fact that it's pushing Bitcoin to innovate, but I'm not sure it's going the right direction. So you've come so far, but I don't know if you've gone the right direction. So
okay, well, I don't disagree, and I think layer 2s could be the solution, just like layer 2s are a solution on Ethereum.
Yeah, but does layer 2 take out the fact that this data is being stored in blockchain, in the Bitcoin network? Because like you pointed out, other blockchains, what we have is pointers to where the actual data is being stored. But if you decide to store this data in the Bitcoin ledger, that's a whole different ballgame. And I don't think that's something that fixed by layer 2, except you decide to separate those two layers, the data storage and the record keeping side of it.
With protocols like BRC20 tokens, I think they will be able to do it on layer 2s, but with ordinals, as in the images, yeah, I'm not sure how they'd manage to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So one of the bits of news that was actually minted today, it's still an unconfirmed transaction, so it's still stuck in the meme pool at the moment. So there's actually bits of news also being minted, and as you can see here, it says, is the Fed government trying to kill off crypto, which I thought was quite funny when I read it. This next page here, BRC20 tokens, again, just kind of gives you an image of what's being minted and what's not being minted, okay? This is showing all of the tokens. I'm going to go to in progress just to show you some stuff here on this. If you do get involved in any BRC20 tokens, always check the progress of it, because with the way the Bitcoin network works and how slow the Bitcoin network can be, like it takes 10 minutes to a half an hour to mint a block, okay? You could send a transaction through, stuff could be minted ahead of you, stuck in the meme pool, and you might end up losing your fees because the stuff gets minted out. So we have this progress chart here, and we can see a breakdown. I just picked this random one here of how much is being minted and how much is stuck in the mempool and how much is left to be minted. So just be careful that you're not minting something if you get involved in it that's already minted out. Okay. Then there's a marketplace here as well. I'm going to just go a little bit quicker because I see I'm starting to run out of time, and I've loads more. I have loads more. You can buy and sell and all that sort of stuff in the marketplace here. This marketplace isn't very pretty. It's very ugly, and it just doesn't look easy to use. On to a next website, which is showing up blank for some reason. Not loading up, I don't know why. Okay, the next website I have to show you is actually a layer 2 solution built on top of all of this. This is Alex Labs, and it's built on top of Stacks, and Stacks have built, or Alex Labs have built a protocol where you can now bridge BRC20 tokens between Bitcoin and Stacks and you can actually trade them on a normal exchange like system. Now, volume, look at this, lads, $3 worth of volume in this token today, whatever token it is. You know, volume is very, very low here at the moment. All the market's going down anyway. People are still minting stuff for free, as we can see over here. When I was on this page, there's stuff, minting is free. You're not paying for the tokens. If you mint these, like the Learn token that I showed there a second ago, you're not actually paying for them tokens. Where is it? You're not paying for them tokens when you mint them. Okay, you're just paying the gas fees to mint them. But then if they go on the marketplace, you're selling them for Bitcoin, for fees. And that's when and how people have started to make money, because they've been buying them for, getting them for free, basically, minting them out for free. So there's a lot of dumping going on in the exchange, the few exchanges that have started to list them. I know Gate.io has listed them. Binance has been discussing listing them. And there's just lots going on because of them. There is a news website, ordinalsglobal.substack.com. I'll drop a link into the Telegram channel for that in case any of you want to have a look at it. But I want to move on really quickly to Bitcoin stamps, because this is yet another development on top of Bitcoin that is quite interesting. So Bitcoin stamps works off an older protocol called Counterparty, and Counterparty was built around 2016. It was a protocol, or sorry, 2014. It was a protocol built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain that hosted the first ever real NFTs, the rare Pepes that were minted on Bitcoin. Now, the truth about it is those weren't minted on Bitcoin either. There is a pointer on Bitcoin pointing to somewhere else for those original NFTs that were minted. What Bitcoin stamps does is actually stamps the stuff onto Bitcoin, but onto unprunable transactions, because it uses UTXOs instead of Satoshis. So the miners can never remove these from their nodes because they can't remove UTXOs. Now, this works a little bit different as well. So you take a piece of artwork, you upload your piece of artwork, but the piece of artwork is converted into base 64 and is stored on Bitcoin as base 64. And then you have to have a reader on the other side, a wallet that works with it, that converts the base 64 back into images, and you see it as an image in your wallet. And that's how Bitcoin stamps actually works. So it is a little bit different, but they cannot be pruned by the miners. Now, it also makes them a little bit more expensive as well. There is a stamping utility. There is a stamping page. I'm just quite conscious that we're out of time now, so I just want to hop over to Counterparty, as I was mentioning there a second ago, because the stamps actually uses Counterparty, the protocol that was released in 2014. It's kind of a fork off it, but it's now compatible with it. And this is Counterparty. This is an old Explorer that's been around since 2014. It doesn't have a pretty UI. We complain about the UIs now. Look at this, lads. This is crazy. Look, I know we're out of time, so I'm not going to go through this in much detail, but if anybody wants any details on how to use Counterparty, how to buy, sell, any of that with stamps, this is my wallet. I have a couple of stamps in here. I have some cheese and some bread, lads. That were one of the first stamps that were minted on Bitcoin. I have them because I was given them, not because I actually bought them. But you need a separate wallet again for using these, because these use the old Counterparty wallets and not the newer Taproot wallets. So on that, I'm going to stop sharing, because I know that's information overload, total information overload. But the development is happening on Bitcoin. There's layer 2s also coming along. We've got Stacks, and Stacks has been outperforming while everything else was going down yesterday. Stacks was going up. We have RGB protocol out there as well. So we've got these layer 2s that are all being built around Bitcoin. that are going to be working on DeFi, that are going to be working on NFTs and have all this other stuff going on. And because Bitcoin is not a security, it could be definitely one of the big narratives. It could even be the summer season, like we had the DeFi season, like we had the NFT season. This could be the next narrative. And I'm definitely very, very much bullish and involved in all of this. So if any of you have any questions about it or start looking into it, feel free. I'll happily jump on a call with anybody and geek out about it for as long as you want, if you are interested. So there you go.
I stuck a link to your video in as well, further up in the chat. So there's a video Paula's done, which talks through all the stuff we talked through tonight and a few other interesting bits and pieces. So link is in the chat. I've also got the first couple of responses from the survey that we did. So what I'll do, I'll drop some more information into the Telegram groups over the next few days. We've had 17 responses from the community, which is brilliant.
17 out of how many?
Well, it depends how many people are active. I think that's the challenge we've got. Because in the groups, we've got around 120. So I keep posting links into the Telegram. But if anyone on the call hasn't completed it yet, please do. I'll pop a link in, and I will drop another link in the Telegram as well. So I'll just pop that in the chat now. But yeah, if you haven't completed it, please do. It's all anonymous, but it's really helpful from our perspective just to understand the demographics we've got. And when we are looking at getting speakers on, or we're getting trying to get sponsorship or something like that, where we can give out prizes or whatever, is really, really helpful information for us to go to different blockchains or projects with. So the more we get, the better.
Good stuff. And if anybody wants to mint their first BRC20 token, go ahead and mint $LRN, $LRN. If it gets minted out, you might have a nice little bag of something that could be worth something in the future. I am going to actually start pimping it a little bit in the BRC20 token communities as soon as I get a little bit of time, and see if I can get it minted out. It's minted 5% there off its own merit for no reason. It'll cost you $2 or $3, like I said, worth of Bitcoin to grab 100 of them. They're minted in batches of 100. So a minimum mint is 100. And like I said, that'll cost you $2 or $3 to mint it. So if you want to grab a little bag of them, do, before I start pimping them out across my, across the crazy BRC20 circle that I've got myself hooked up in.
Well, thank you very much for all that, Paula. But to me, like, it's just a total geek fest. What university do you have to go to understand it? Who's driving it? What's driving it?
The community. Basically, people on Bitcoin. Nobody but communities.
Okay.
People are bored as well, I think. You know, that's why Pepe happened.
Yeah.
That's why Pepe happened.
See,
there was an upgrade on Bitcoin a few years ago called Taproot.
Yeah.
And Taproot allowed for smart contract functionality on Bitcoin. It allowed for larger blockchain sizes and stuff like that. And these are just the developments that are starting to happen out of that.
Interesting. Yeah. So you're seeing a trend emerging?
I am seeing a trend emerging. An early trend.
Yeah, well, don't forget AI is the flavor of the year.
Don't mind AI. BRC20 ordinal stamps Bitcoin all the way.
Not financial advice, etc.
Definitely not financial advice. None of what I say. Look, I'm just telling you what I'm doing. Got a lot of time on my hands lately to be exploring what's going on in the industry, and I'm sharing a bit of news, which is take it as you wish.
Yeah. You get your finger on the pulse, that's for sure. But please let me know when AI starts to interface with Bitcoin.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. AI and Bitcoin. Oh, maybe I need to maybe I need to deploy a BRC20 AI token.
There you go.
With a future use case to be announced. Right, look, everybody, we have ran over time. Thank you all very much for coming here this evening. We're back on Tuesday with Simon, the following Monday with Jess, and then back with myself next the Thursday after, when we'll be talking about, and we'll have a Web3 recruiter with us, and we'll be talking about getting a job in Web3 and Web3 recruitment. So until then, everybody, have a lovely week, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. I'll drop the
Bye
chat
now.
in
See you guys.
the telegrams as well. So the chat will be
Good
in there.
stuff, Simon. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. See you, Henry.
Bye-bye.
See you, Chris.
Bye.
See you, Marco.
Yes, yeah. Bye.
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 See you,
Bye.
Juliana. See you, Jet, or see you, Kevin. See you, Chris. See you, Pragna.
Bye.
Bye now. Have a lovely evening.
Bye, bye, guys.
See you, Chris. See you next
Cheers, Chris.
time. Do you want to stop the recording there?
Yeah, I will just